Hello everybody and welcome to my spoilery reading vlog for House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. If you guys have seen any of these spoilery reading vlogs from me before, you will know that I normally start off with a recap of the previous books in the series, like where we left off if it is a sequel, which this is. However, I'm not going to be doing that for House of Sky and Breath because I have just made a full, thorough, in detail recap of House of Earth and Blood, which you guys can watch here if you want to do so. So I just have a couple of things that I need to let you guys know before we dive right into the vlog. The first one is that obviously this video is going to contain major spoilers for House of Sky and Breath and also House of Earth and Blood. However, just a quick warning that this video is also going to have some ACOTAR spoilers in it and also a couple of references to Throne of Glass. Now in terms of the Throne of Glass stuff, it's mainly to do with the history of the world and also like the lore, the world building, that kind of stuff, and I think I only mention it once or twice, so I don't think the Throne of Glass references in this video are something that you guys really need to worry about because I don't think they'll make a whole ton of sense without context, and I don't mention any of the main characters or any of the major plot points in Throne of Glass, but I just thought I'd let you guys know that they're there in case that is something that you're concerned about. Now the last thing I need to let you guys know before we get into this vlog is that I am filming this after I finished the book, and I had already previously filmed an introduction to this vlog. However, I have just been importing the footage for this vlog, and everything that I filmed for the last like 150 pages of this book, the audio is not good. So I've just discovered that I had dust in my microphone. The audio sounds very muffled, very quiet, very underwater. So I'm refilming what I can, which is essentially the introduction and the wrap up of this vlog. But I know you guys really wanted to see my reactions, and all of the stuff that has dodgy audio is my reactions to the big things at the end of this book. So in terms of it being authentic and my actual reaction, I can't refilm it. But I'm going to do everything that I possibly can in editing to try and salvage those reactions for you guys, even if it comes down to me having to manually subtitle it on screen so that you guys can get the gist of what I'm saying. I'm really sorry. I'm also really upset about it. I've had a minor breakdown about it this morning, but I'm just gonna make the best of a bad situation, and I hope that you guys don't hold it against me and don't mind too much. But I think that's everything I need to fill you guys in on, so let's get to the vlog. Good morning. It is 8:48 on Monday the 14th of February, aka Valentine's Day, but more importantly, aka the day that House of Sky and Breath arrives.
Morning.
Morning.
For you.
Thank you very much. See you later. It's here. It's here. Don't ask any questions about the Winnie the Pooh onesie, okay? I do have 2 copies. Don't worry, I'm not being greedy. Ryan was at work when they went on sale, so I got a ticket for him as well. Oh my god, I don't want to hurt it, but I need to be in it. Oh my god! Hey Hammy! How many pages is it? And I know that there's spoilers on the last page, so I'm not going to look at it. 801! 2 more pages than House of Earth and Blood. I'm scared of it. I'm so scared of it. But let's go. Okay, so this book has been here for over an hour now, and I'm still procrastinating on starting it because I am scared. So I thought I would talk through a couple of reasons why I'm scared. So essentially my theories, but theories that I don't want to happen, but I think are possible. The first one is that Shahar may turn up again, because I don't think we had any like visual confirmation that she was dead. Like Hunt didn't see her die, and none of the other angels confirmed to have seen her die. So I'm worried that Sandriel was maybe keeping her trapped, imprisoned for all this time, and now that Sandriel's gone, Shahar might turn up, which is one of the only things that I can see really causing conflict in the relationship between Hunt and Bryce. The second thing I'm scared of is a crossover. So I just posted a video on crossover theory, and in that I said I don't mind there being Easter eggs. I like that the worlds are all connected. I like seeing the references in all of the series like to each other, but I don't want any characters crossing over into worlds and meeting up with other characters. Some people left comments on that video that like add further credibility to things like Rune has the Star Sword, which is very possibly part of the Dread Trove. Somebody gave me a reference from A Court of Silver Flames that really closely matches the information we get in House of Earth and Blood. So they're definitely connected, but I don't want them to be so connected that all of the series are dependent on each other. And the other thing I'm scared of is that, as some of you guys may know, somebody posted the last page of House of Sky and Breath on social media last week, and I haven't been spoiled, thankfully, but I have heard that the spoiler on the last page is a really big deal, to the point where like people who've seen it are not going to be able to read the book without constantly trying to figure out how we get to the point that this spoiler happens on the last page. So I'm scared because I'm like, what could that be that everyone's losing their minds over it? And also the fact that it's on the last page, which implies that we may have like a big reveal and cliffhanger at the end, which I don't think, if it's going to be 2 years until the next book, I don't think I can cope with that. Finally, summoned the courage to read the prologue, which makes it clear, which I think it was in the synopsis. I didn't read the synopsis of this one before I went in, but the book is definitely heading in the direction of the war between the humans and the Vanir in Pangira. And also we had some information about something called a Thunderbird, which may tie into Hunt's abilities, like I feel like it is going to, but also reminds me a lot of the Firebird in ACOTAR. Page 26, somebody commented on one of my videos, I think it was the recap, theorizing that maybe Thor was Hunt's father, which makes sense because the Crescent City world is based on Norse mythology, and Thor has not actually been mentioned in the lore. It was just kind of implied by it being Norse up until this point, where at the ballet there is a frieze of Thor with his hammer. So I was thinking, because I mean, I'm on page 26, it's way too early to be making theories of this caliber, but I was thinking maybe it was something to do with the Thunderbird, Hunt's power, but maybe Thor is his father. I'm not super familiar with Norse mythology, so I don't know if like Thunderbirds are a reference to Norse mythology at all. But maybe the Thunderbirds came from Thor. Something that I fully didn't anticipate and definitely don't appreciate is Rune's douchebag cousin turning up and deciding that he's gonna marry Bryce. 98% sure that we're gonna get this sorted, but it's just fucking irritating. Like, just the thought of somebody coming in and like deciding who she's gonna marry and then trying to lay a claim to her. Not about it. So I'm 4 chapters in. Not very far, I'm on page 70, but shit is already hitting the fan. We have Cormac, who's just turned up and claimed that Bryce has to marry him. We have Ethan now bleeding all over the floor. We also have 2 new archangels coming in to take over Sandriel and Micah's territory. And I mean, we knew that there was going to be plot in this book, of course, but I was just hoping that we were going to have more of a chill time before that happened. I was just really enjoying everything being nice and calm, and the flirting and the banter, Rune's party, the ballet, all of that good stuff, and only up to chapter 5 and everything's already started to go downhill. So got over my fear just enough to start the book. Now we'll see whether I can get over my fear enough to continue it. Okay, so I was gonna come here to tell you guys a very different story that I feel like I'm going to tell you now, because I've just read, was it chapter 15? I've switched from this copy to this copy because this one's just arrived, but I need to transfer all of my tabs over still. I have just put 3 tabs in that last chapter, but I've just read chapter 15, where at the end Bryce says that she doesn't know any rebels, and Ada says like, well, you do, because there's one right behind you. And Cormac is Agent Silverbow. I did not see that coming. I really wanted him to be a bad guy, because obviously when Sarah J Maas introduces bad guys, they're not always bad, but I really wanted him to be one, because Jessica said like, maybe you should think about what kind of privileges you'll gain if you marry Cormac. And I don't want her to consider it. I don't want him to be a good guy. I don't want the possibility of him being a love interest. But Tharion went to the bottom of the sea to find Sophie, and her shackles were unlocked, so she's not dead. And we know that Cormac is Sophie's lover, or was Sophie's lover. And my other maybe thought about Sophie, because she was dropped at the bottom of the trench, is that maybe Vic got out of her box and took Sophie's form. But hopefully, if Sophie, I want Sophie to be alive because Cormac is in love with her, and then he won't fuck with Hunt and Bryce unless it's like a marriage of convenience, just for like show kind of thing. I'm also a little bit concerned, even more concerned should I say, about crossover potential now, just because Adis has come in just like spitting straight facts. But he said, where did the Asteri come from? Where did the Fae or the Shifters or the Angels come from? And I'm just like, Prithian? Aurelia? Somewhere? But yeah, up until this point, I was like, I am enjoying it, but I was a little bit sad because, like, don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying it. I was always going to enjoy it because it's the sequel to my favourite book ever. Even if I didn't like what happened, I would still enjoy it to a point, because it's just kind of like guaranteed for me at this point. But because it has a plot, it has conflict in it, and I just don't want anything bad to happen to these characters because I'm really like emotionally invested in the series. So I was a little bit sad because there was conflict coming in, like multiple threads of conflict throughout the plot. Like Ethan's been disowned by Emily and Sabine. We have the Sophie stuff going missing and Bryce getting involved, even though Hunt doesn't want to get involved in another rebellion because obviously that's a great source of trauma for him. We also have the marriage to Cormac, which was really pissing me off, but to be honest, I detest arranged marriages unless it's the basis of a romance. You know, things like Serpent and Dove, where it's like a forced marriage but you know that it's going to be a romance going into it between those two. So that really annoyed me because I felt like it was introduced for the purpose of not only conflict but also like misogyny. And then on top of all of that, we have the fact that Bryce and Hunt are a little bit weird around each other at the minute. The stupid friends bargain that they've got, which is holding up the romance, and also that they feel weird about each other because Bryce wants to find Sophie and Emile and Hunt obviously doesn't want anything to do with the rebellion, which I feel like he's being perfectly reasonable and has many good reasons for not following this, whereas Bryce isn't even really thinking about not following it. She's just like, well, I have to save children. But my only real hope is that because there is no development of the romance, because they have this like friendship bargain and there's been no smut or anything, I do still feel like they're going to be endgame because we're playing like another super slow burn. And if they were gonna break up, I feel like we would have entered this book with like a full-blown romance where like they're so in love and cannot be separated and there's something drastic happens to break them up. But because that isn't the case, I'm still feeling like that end game. Still no predictions about what the shocking thing on the last page is going to be. But sadly, after that chapter, I'm on page 180. Think, what time is it? Yeah, I have my nail appointment and my wax in 35 minutes, so I'm gonna have to pause there and get ready to go out, but I'm very excited to continue when I get home. Well, that blowjob scene was really something else. I'm glad that we went there because in book one, Hunt didn't get anything. Like, Hunt delivered and Hunt did not receive. So I'm glad that the roles were reversed, because while I obviously understand that romance in general tends to be tailored towards women, I do find it incredibly unrealistic when you have men in romance novels. I think one that I remember particularly because my buddy read it with Simon from Savage Reads, who really picked up on it, but in the Brown Sisters trilogy, there's not a lot of giving to the men, it's more like receiving from the men. So I was a big fan of that, and I really like the comedy as well of Ethan being across the apartment and obviously hearing everything because he's a wolf. So I'm glad that the solstice bargain has ended. Ruin has made contact with Agent Daybright, and Agent Daybright has appeared like the sun, essentially, like warm, hot, fiery. The Orphean agents, the rebel agents, believe that Daybright is like closely tied to the Asteri, and I'm wondering if Daybright could be Celestina. I mean, that could be too obvious because Celestina is the only character who's come into it, I think, who's now unaccounted for when it comes to the rebels and all of that stuff. But she appears kind, so it could go one of either two ways. She could actually be a kind archangel, because Hunt and everyone is assuming, or like saying, archangels are monstrous, they're horrible, there's no chance of them being good. But Shahar existed and was apparently good and wanted to start a rebellion, so Celestina could be along that line. And I'm at the bit where it seems, I haven't finished the scene yet, so I don't know what's fully occurring, but it seems like Pollux and Baxian have gotten into a fight, and it says of Celestina that her power is warm and summer-kissed, so it's a possibility that Celestina may be Daybright. So I thought that Cormac could step through shadows the same way that Rune can, but Cormac can actually winnow, and the way it's just been described is exactly the way that it's described to Feyre in ACOTAR. It says you have to picture where you want to go and then simply allow yourself to take that step, as if you're folding 2 points on a piece of paper so that the 2 points can meet.
And I like spurred, like, you know, like the whole like lighted up moment then. Like I got like chills just like, yeah, same. That scene still like makes me cry thinking about it.
So I just finished watching the Sarah J Maas interview, which was essentially the House of Sky and Breath tour, and I'm just still not wanting this book to end. And I know that I'm obsessing over the last line of this book when I'm only on page 320, so I still have 500 pages to go. But the thing is with I feel like I know what the end is, and the reason I'm being so skittish about it is because I don't want it to end how I think it's gonna end. Like, I don't want it, and I don't want to be proven right. So I've been sat here for like the last 24 hours just being like, just spoil yourself, just do it. Like, you just put yourself out of your misery and spoil the book, and then you won't have all of this anxiety leading up to this ending. I don't think the ending is going to be what I want it to be. I think it's one of the things that I'm scared of. I think it's crossover related, which I don't want. I feel like it has to be handled very sensitively if it is, for it to work. I think my problem is, and the reason why I'm being so skittish about this, is because I want to know what the end point is, but I don't want to be right about it. So either way, I'm not going to be happy. Like, as soon as I know what that ending is, whether I spoil it for myself now or when I get to the end, I don't think I'm going to be happy about it if it is crossover related. Knowing that there's something really big on the last line of this book has ruined the entire reading experience of this book for me, because I can't focus on enjoying the book where it is now because I'm focusing on that last line, and it's really fucking annoying. And that is why I'm off social media this week, because I didn't want this to happen, and it's happened because somebody leaked spoilers last week. But yeah, just thought I'd let you know where I'm at with that. I'm on page like 320-ish. I want to get at least halfway today, which I'm actually pretty confident about because I'm going to read a bit now and I'll read a little bit later as well. But I think I just need to boss up and get through this book because it's just borderline ridiculous how much I'm dragging my feet on it now, and I just need a better attitude. I need to just be excited about it instead of like this for no, this is just ridiculous. But I'm just so emotionally invested in this series, and like all of Sarah J Maas's books really, but especially this series. And I think it's because book one is so long. Like, even though I've only read one book, you spend a lot of time with the characters. It's a roller coaster of emotions. So it's not like if I don't like the ending, I'm just gonna roll my eyes and be like, yeah, of course, and rate it 4 stars instead of 5 or whatever. Like, it's actually gonna really bother me because I am so emotionally invested. But yeah, rant over, I guess. I just need to get my shit together. So I've had a day to chill out after my little mini rant that I had the other night. This is why I don't like hyped things in general. Like, I love Sarah J Maas and I have since like 2015, but obviously she's getting more and more popular, and there's going to be a TV show adaptation and she's going to get even more popular. But then you have knobs who post the last page of a book on the internet a week before release just because they hate other people enjoying things, and it really just pisses me off. I was annoyed about that. I still am a little bit annoyed about that, but I spent the last day, because I was busy yesterday, I went to my dad's to see the puppies. I had the Buffy watch along and I read like 1 chapter yesterday, so I've had a day to cool down. I'm halfway through this book now, and I'm just, even though I'm pretty sure I know the direction that the end is going in, I think that whatever is introduced in the last line is set up for the next book, and that's why it's the last line that's so shocking. So I still have this whole book to enjoy within the realms of like Crescent City without it being crossover related, if that even is what it is. And I need to just suck it up, man the fuck up, put my big girl pants on and stop being such a little bitch, which is what I'm gonna do today. So I'm aiming to blast through quite a bit of this today, maybe finish it. I anticipate getting through at least 200, maybe 300 pages. Definitely want this done by tomorrow though, because if I'm not gonna stress about it, because enjoying it is the most important thing, even though I'm struggling right now because of my own brain. But I do have other things on my TBR that I really need to read by the end of the month, and we only have a week left after the remainder of this week. So where I am up to, they've just gone to see the Mystics. I actually put it down in a really awkward place yesterday where the Prince of Hell, is it the Prince of the Ravine, told the Mystic that they want to see them, and he opened his eyes, and that was the end of the chapter. But there's some interesting things going on, and the first is that Hunt used Bryce as a conduit for his power, which I am real interested, because to me that signals that they're supposed to be together and that they're endgame, because in a mythical sense they line up and they're compatible and the powers can be used in tandem. But I do have a couple of things that's maybe making me feel a little bit unsure about that. The first is that Ethan is very clearly in love with Bryce. In the chapter that I've just read, Bryce mentioned that she looked at him and she's like seeing Connor, which obviously she was attracted to Connor, so I'm a little bit concerned. And the second is that they've decided that they're going to refer to each other as mates. mates. And Bryce is explaining like that's a serious thing for Faye. Like it means that you're soul bonded, you have this like big tight like thing. But it seems like she wasn't sure, like she's definitely happy with it and she's like, yes, this is the right fit, like we're mates. But she hasn't had that like moment where she's like, yes, you are my mate, which happens in like every other Sarah J Maas book. So I don't know whether Sarah's taking like more of a modern approach to it, where it's like, let's sit down and discuss what this relationship is going forward like adults, like we do in the 21st century, or whether they're not mates. And then Ethan said that Connor thought that he was her mate, and then Ethan said that he had a tug and thought that she was his mate. But obviously between species we have lots of different mate bonds. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. I think though, because I'm halfway through the second book now, so if Hunt is not endgame, Sarah has a lot of work to do to make me love somebody who isn't Hunt. This is like, how many pages? 1,200 pages. I've been like set on Hunt Athalar, and she only has, assumedly, if the last book, I know during that interview that we did, she said that she's already planning other stories in the world, but I think it's going to be like ACOTAR, where you have a core trilogy and then later books that are either like standalones or have like a wider overarching plot or whatever Sarah has in mind for the rest of ACOTAR. So I'm assuming it's going to be like a final 800 page book, and that's not enough to make me love somebody else and be okay with her changing her mind on Hunt. But then the other thing that's kind of like making me doubt it is that Celestina seems nice, seems like a cool chick. I'm at the point where she's just punished Hunt for leaving the thing by making him stay in the barracks for 2 weeks, and I'm like, do you have a thing for him? Because you can't have him, honey. I'm on page 454 and Ethan has gone back to see the mystics, essentially to get more confirmation that Connor is safe for now in the bone quarter. He hasn't been sent through the dead gate, and the girl that's there has told him that he should see a necromancer, and I had a feeling that necromancy was going to come back in here, because I think, is it Hypatia who has like, she's the daughter of a necromancer or the granddaughter of a necromancer or something, and we haven't seen her yet in this book. She's gone back into her like seclusion and being the queen of the witches, and I'm like, we have a lot of dead characters that are very important here. Is Connor going to get resurrected and throw a spanner in the works? Whereas we've been told that Danica's soul has gone now, but like, I was wondering, because of how much this book still centers around Danica even though Danica's dead, I was like, is Danica gonna come back somehow? Like, did Danica ever die? Is she gonna get resurrected by a necromancer? I don't know, but necromancy is definitely gonna play a part in at least this series, if not this book. And what is that gonna mean? I love Connor, but I don't want him to come back right now. So Daybright, I know I said that it might be Celestina, still possible, but I'm wondering if it's Hypatia, just because it's Rune that's flirting with her. And they had like just a little bit of a spark in House of Earth and Blood, and they got a little bit of a spark in here as well. The only reason I didn't think it was her is that I don't remember fire magic being associated with her. I associate her with healing, and then of course we also have the possible necromancy as well. Okay, so kind of already retracting that thought, because Rune guessed that she's in House of Sky and Breath and witches are in House of Earth and Blood, and she reacted as though that was accurate. Oh my god, yes, Daybright, is that her name? Is 100% Celestina. Like, my money is on this now, because Rune was just talking to her and she was pulled out of their conversation, so he launched himself across the bridge and she's in the middle of having really rough sex, and he says that he thinks it's consensual but not meaningful, which perfectly matches Celestina and Ephraim, because she wants nothing to do with this. She's being forced to by the Asteri. So yeah, I'm thinking that's the thing. It seemed too obvious though, like that I've got that so easily, assuming that it is true, which I feel like it is. It seems like a very obvious choice, because like I said earlier, she's the only person who's unaccounted for, who's super powerful and could be this connection to the rebels. Thank you, Rune. I knew I loved Rune. I mean, he's a big emo baby, how could I not? But thank you, Rune, for coming through with the confirmation that Hunt and Bryce are mates. They are officially bond sealed in the traditional Sarah J Maas way. All good. Hunt and Bryce are a go until the end of time, and I can die happy and put that train of anxiety to rest. I'm also wondering, because we know from other Sarah J Maas series, and we know that they're all at least connected in the fact that all of the worlds have access to each other in some way, and that they possibly stem from each other. The way that Hunt's reacting right now, and Rune is explaining it like this is what happens with Faye as well, but he's an angel, so I'm thinking like, does everyone stem from Faye? Because I know in, I think it's Throne of Glass, all of the magic comes from the Faye, and the Faye bred with demons to create the witches, and they bred with humans to create like really strong healers, which are also kind of like the med witches and things like that. And I think also shapeshifters came from humans and Faye, but like the Faye has kind of been and bred out of them, so now they're like their own thing. So I'm wondering if, because this has been like 15,000 years in the making, that the magic still does originate from the Fae like it does in the other series, but it's just evolution has come so far on that they're now their own species, and that's how all of this is connected. Because like we see shapeshifters in other Sarah J Maas series, like Throne of Glass specifically, but there's also Fae shapeshifters in every series, like Tamlin straight off in ACOTAR, the Cadre in Throne of Glass, whereas these shapeshifters I see as different because they're not Fae, but they possibly all still originated from those original Fae, which I still think came from Throne of Glass and then spread outwards from there. Did Ethan just get killed? Did Ethan really just have his throat ripped out right here, right now? Is he actually... Hypatia's here, who heals. Bryce is here with First Light. Maybe he's not gonna die? I'm concerned. Is Tharian the one that Hypaxia is actually in love with and would rather marry that isn't Rune? Because he has a fiance and she has a fiance, so nothing can happen. But they have struck up a friendship. The conversation here seems like casual and familiar and a little bit like just a tad more than friends, like there's something there but they're not doing anything about it. Is it possible? I mean, just the way they looked at each other at the summit, I felt like something was up. Okay, so I just want to take a moment to say that Rune is basically having an online relationship with somebody who is using a fake profile picture, or like, you know, profile picture that just is not their face, and I'm worried he's about to get catfished. I still think it's Celestina, but as she said she's gonna be there at the autumn equinox for the meeting celebrations, I'm like, could it be somebody else? Could it be Shahar? Because still not 100% convinced that she's dead, because I feel like we have a lot of dead people that are very relevant to the plot, and I just feel like at least one of them is not actually dead. But I don't know. I don't know. I have to go out briefly now, so I can't read for a little while. But I'm at the point now. I'm on like page 625. I have less than 200 pages left. So shit's about to hit the fan and I don't think I'm ready. Celestina and Hypaxia. Did not see that coming. Oh my god. That throws all of my Agent Daybright theories out of the window. Because I had a feeling it was Celestina. She was the one I was going with. But then I thought maybe it could be Hypaxia, because it would be the whole thing of like, oh my god, it's you and we're already engaged, like situation going on. But no, poor Rune. Poor Rune. No one for Rune. But there was like kind of an inkling where Hunt said that he didn't even know if Celestina preferred males or females early on. So like there was a small hint there, but I'm shocked. And now I don't know who Agent Daybright is, because Agent Daybright has bailed and now so has Rune. Hear me out. Right. You know, right at the beginning of this vlog, I said that the Thunderbirds remind me of the Firebird in ACOTAR. Could Agent Daybright be Vasa? Is that really fucking weird? Because, like, I've got the ACOTAR wiki up now, and I need to read Red Close of things. I can't remember, because I know she lives with Jurian and Lucian, but doesn't she have like a deal with Kashai and the lake where she has to go back to him? Because it says here for Frost and Starlight that they couldn't break the curse. Feyre and Helion tried and couldn't do it. But then it moves on and says that she lives with Jurian and Lucian, but doesn't mention anything else about the curse. The last thing it says is that they couldn't break it. Could Vassar be Daybright? Is that why I can't figure out who she is? Oh my god. I'm having a moment. Okay, I just had like a moment of clarity where she can't be Vasa, which is really sad because that would have been cool. Because she was at the ball for the autumn equinox, and why the fuck would Vasa be there? She wouldn't, was the answer. That was a real cool theory I had for like a hot second there though. Just need to know. I'm in the middle of what I'm going to assume is going to be the last scene with Daybright in it. On page 727, they're about to go to the Eternal City at some point soon, I think. Which I imagine is where the book ends, and everyone seems to be like wrapping up their individual things, like saying goodbye or bringing to a pause, like their individual plot lines, which I assume they're going to pick up in book 3, so I don't think we're going to see her again. I might get her name in this chapter somehow, but I need to know. Okay, so Hunt has landed in the Crystal Palace. Bryce has just landed, but they haven't met yet. And Rune is still out in the Olive Grove, but Hunt is having like trauma flashbacks from being in the palace, of being there the original time after the rebellion, and he's having flashbacks of Shahar's collapse. So maybe I will let it go that she's possibly alive. Maybe. We'll have to see. But at the minute, she's probably not alive. I hope she isn't, to be fair. Okay, so this truth and the fact that Bryce is just a young girl called leads me to believe it has something to do with ACOTAR, maybe, because
There's 7 cohorts in Caribbean. You have the 4 seasonal cohorts, and then there's dawn, day, and night. But like, if there's dawn, why is there not dusk? Every other cohort has like a counterbalance. Assumedly, this is going to be something to do with ruin. Maybe it's the dusk cohort that left. But the dusk cohort has something to do with Wales because of Avalon, and the legend of King Arthur being Welsh, William possibly my sword being Welsh. I don't know, but it's just a thought I had this morning when I was lying in bed trying to to finish this book, and it just reminded me again because Bryce was on the door called Dusk, so the whole Dusk cohort just disappear, and Azrael's ancestors somehow got left behind. So interestingly, the little paragraph here about how a dark cold world with mighty creatures at night they saw for our worth. Once warring factions the royal armies of hell united and marched against us, we were overwhelmed and abandoned their world, but they gave chase. Learn from our captured lieutenants how to slip between the cracks on the wall. Interestingly, in Throne Glass, the Valve started off as warring factions and they eventually united to wage a war against other creatures in the realm. Maybe something to think about. Yes, the shift is offing. They all come back to the same thing, like the Owlcrate and like Tamlin and all that kind of stuff. Oh my god! Oh my god, people. I can't even concentrate right now. I was thinking earlier today, I was like, okay, I am going to do a follow-up to my crossover thing. I'm already getting comments on that video, like, I can't wait for you to do the follow-up and part 2 to this video. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm definitely going to do it, but I'm probably going to wait for my reread, because I'm also going to, before the 3rd book in the series is published, which is next, I'm going to read at least Crisis, Sky and Breath, A Court of Silver Flames, and reread this. And then, when I'm rereading and like absorbing more information, so I'm not focused on the plot, I can make the video and I can do it properly the way that I did it this time. Cross-reference all of my sources, count all of my quotes and all that kind of stuff. But then you've got regulars out here saying that the kind of fae that Bryce is comes from Caribbean, but are not the same kind of fae that the shifters came from, because they came from a different world where all of the fae can shift into animals. And I'm like, well, that sounds an awful lot like another world that I know. I don't have the ability to make that video right now, but I want to. Oh my god. Right. You ready, guys? This shit's hitting the side. I've got 45 pages left. Oh my god, it's behind! It's behind! He's pulling! Oh, it's just... Oh my god! She fucking saw him! She's a... Oh my god! I'm dying. Okay. That is why nobody knew that they'd been to that rebel base, because it was only the hand that saw them. Oh my god. If it was anyone that was defecting from this law, I really thought it was going to be the Harpies. But she killed Sophie! But she's part of the rebellion. The hard call for the ship. The hard call for the ship to get so the storms. Come on, Hunt. Hunt needs to come try and get rid of bullets. It has to be done. Ooh, I'm sure. I fucking hate this book on the killer's now. Final 24 pages. Let's smash it. It's not Ada. It was him. It was ridiculous. You know, the way there's a series going on, like, we need to find out the origins of them. It reminded me a lot of Val. Damn, Celestina! Okay, right, so we're building up to like some sort of separation here between Bryce and Rune, and I don't know whether they're gonna leave, she's gonna stay, she's gonna leave, they're gonna stay. I don't know the specifics, but what I know for a fact that Miss Sarah J. Maas is not gonna kill Dr. Rune right now. It's not gonna happen. So like, I'm worried because I feel like it's gonna leave when everyone's separated in whatever way they happen to be separated. But I'm not like overall worried because I know that she's not gonna do it in book 2. It's not happening. Oh baby, you ain't in hell. Hell doesn't have grass in there. I'm real baby, it's like you. Oh my god. The petite dark-haired female with angular eyes like Furies. I fucking told ya. I told ya. Comparing her to Fury right there. It is. Asriel's knife is the twin of the Star Sword. Oh my god, I was right. The Star Sword is the fourth piece of the retro. When the two blades are united, it will unite their people. It will unite the two things across the two worlds. I told you guys that Rune and Breeze look the same. Fucking told you. Oh my god. His name is Rayson.
Okay, so let's do what feels like take 500 on my final thoughts on House of Sky and Breath. So obviously I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It is my favorite book of the year so far. I do still prefer House of Earth and Blood though. I feel like in House of Earth and Blood you couldn't take a breath in the last 200 pages because it was non-stop action, and in this it only really kicks in the last 50 pages, which, don't get me wrong, I love a slow-paced book and I'm not necessarily mad about it. It's just that the stakes felt so much higher in House of Earth and Blood. We had so much pining in there as well, where I will say that in here, with the wait until winter solstice thing, the pining felt kind of forced. Like the sexual tension didn't feel real to me, where I think the sexual tension House of Earth and Blood was amazing. I don't think we had any main character deaths in here. I love how I already can't remember. I mean, I know I'm refilming this, but it's still only been 3 days since I read the book, which is why I always make sure to reread big, chunky, intricate books like this that I know I'm really invested in the series, because my memory when I'm in my first read and I'm all swept up in like what's happening is just terrible. But we didn't really have any main character deaths. I think the only person I can think of who died is the Harpy, and then we had Sophie. Oh my god, Cormac blew himself up. That was real. I feel like that stuff that was going on with them in the lab, it was kind of overshadowed by the stuff going on with Rune, Hunt and Bryce, which I was more interested in, which is why I forgot. I'm actually real sad about Cormac. I mean, I kind of hope he survived, but I'm very doubtful, and I'm not super happy with his death, you know, because I didn't love him because he's only been introduced in this book, but I did really like him, and I feel like we could have had a bit more of an emotional death for Cormac. I also wasn't really impressed with the first full sex scene in here in the garden area of the big sea ship thing. Like, it felt very like, you know, the first kiss scene in Mortal Instruments that's in the Mortal Instruments movie and it's real cheesy and awful. I had those vibes from it, and I wasn't really into it, but I did enjoy all of the like more sexual and romantic scenes throughout the rest of the book, which is why I'm kind of even more disappointed about that first full sex scene, because it felt like we've been building up to this for such a long time, and I didn't really like it. It felt a bit cheesy and weird. A couple of things that I'm kind of disappointed with in this is the lack of certain characters, like Jessica. Where was she? Like, Bryce was just calling her to call in favors every 100 pages or so, and she was just coming through. But like, especially with her and Adis being the end of Host of Earth and Blood, I really expected more from them in this book. I'm now wondering that because Bryce is in Prithia and all of those characters that we have lined up, because we also had the introduction of the perspectives of Tharian and Ethan in here, which I really enjoyed. So I'm wondering whether Bryce is going to fade into the background a little bit, like we've seen in another Sarah J Maas book, which I don't want to give too big a spoiler for that, while all of the other characters that are left behind kind of rally together to start fixing things before she returns. So yeah, I was really missing Jessica. We had a little bit more fury than in House of Earth and Blood, but I still want more from her, especially with at the end how we got the comparison straight away between Amren and Fury, which is something that I'd picked up on. But of course, because we've just had that comparison, I feel like we needed to make that link before we could explore Fury further, because we're not just going to get answers about Fury. If that comes into play, we're also going to get answers about Amren. So in terms of the crossover, I mean, right at the beginning of this vlog, I said one thing I don't want is main characters skipping in between worlds, and that is exactly what happened. At the minute, I'm undecided. I am reserving my judgment on how I feel about this until book 3 is released, because the whole reason I don't want a crossover is not because I don't love that everything's connected and that we have like a deeper plot here and everything stems from like the same kind of big event. The reason why I don't want a crossover is because we have 5 books in the ACOTAR series now, especially because it's a crossover with ACOTAR. I think I would have enjoyed Throne of Glass a little bit more, just because I feel like it's been a while since I've revisited Throne of Glass. But at the minute we have 5 books in the ACOTAR world, and I see Rhys pretty often, you know, even though the new books aren't centered on him, he's still there, he's still the big bad sexy High Lord. And I wanted this series to be about Bryce and Hunt because the first book is my favorite book ever. I really like this setting with it being urban. I really love these characters, and my only real worry is the inner circle are going to come in and play too big a part of the plot and take up too much page space in the 3rd book in this series, when I just really want it to be about these characters, because we already have so many characters in here. Like, one of my only complaints about this series in general is that it can feel a little bit disjointed, because we have heaps of plot in here. We have the big overarching stuff, we also have mini mysteries and murder mysteries going on. Every single character has their own like little side plot, whether it's to do with romance, their family, rebels, all of that kind of stuff. And we also have a whole ton of character perspectives in here. So I think like towards the end of the book or something, it's like over the last 2 weeks this has happened because there's just been like a jump, and if you filled in all of these gaps to make it a lot smoother, then it would be a ridiculously large book. So because I'm already seeing the disjointedness, I feel like it was only really apparent at the end of House of Earth and Blood, but I did notice it throughout the entirety of this. I don't really want us adding more characters into the mix to make that bit of it even more noticeable. Like, I feel like we have more going on in this series than we have in any of her other series that she's written so far. So then to make this one the part where a crossover is super relevant, and she's been laying the seeds, like the hints, for years, so I'm assuming that she wants it to be major. I'm kind of just reserving my judgment. I don't love it right now. I'm like cautiously optimistic. Am I cautiously optimistic? I'm just kind of reserving my opinion on the crossover for now, because obviously it's going to be more to do with book 3 than book 2, and I do feel like it has to be handled quite delicately. Like, I feel like there is a way that it can be pulled off, but until we have the 3rd book, I don't know whether that's gonna happen or not, you know? I also do think that Throne of Glass is gonna come to play in this at some point, because the way that the shifters were described as coming from different fae from a different world sounds a lot like Throne of Glass, where the fae in Throne of Glass bred with humans, and that's how the magic was spread around the world. So I am anticipating something to do with Throne of Glass, whether that includes Bryce traveling to their world as well, or whether it's just like tying all those bits together to kind of make it solid and obvious that that is the world that everyone came from. And I did read on something that Madison sent me that the Cauldron was transported from another world, because with the crossover in here I was maybe doubting whether Aurelia was the oldest world out of the 3, but the Cauldron was taken from like a home world and transported to Prithian, so Prithian isn't the origin of that kind of stuff, so that's possibly from Aurelia or another different world that we haven't experienced yet. There is also, like, I know we don't have a whole lot of information about Amren or Fury, and like I'm saying, I feel like that's going to come in book 3, but Sarah J Maas has had another project on Goodreads for years and years and years, because I've had Crescent City saved on my want to read list since 2015, and the name hasn't changed or anything, it was just like published. She does have another thing on there that's just exists with a title, which is called Twilight of the Gods, and I'm wondering if that is going to be something that ties into the, I don't know, maybe a prequel with the origin of the Asteri, or maybe focusing on characters like Amren and Fury. But with it being gods and it being obvious that within all of these series the gods very clearly travel between the portals and have a hand in all of the worlds, I do feel like it may have something to do with that, so I'll be really excited for that whenever that comes out. Although I'm not sure, because like I said, she has confirmed that she is thinking about writing more Crescent City books, and we still have at least a couple of ACOTAR books to go. But mainly in this, I really loved how political it got. Like, some of it took my brain a little time to get around, but I loved how we had this like spy espionage kind of thing going on. It felt very war-like, which is good because it's supposed to. We have an ongoing war in this world, but it felt war like in like a real world kind of situation, you know, like World War II spies and things like that. And something else that I really love is the sci-fi elements we're getting in here, because I love me some sci-fi normally because it's like rooted in science, so it's super logic based, and that is just something that my brain really loves. But yeah, good reading experience overall. The only thing I'm worried about is the crossover, but I'm reserving my judgment to see how it plays out. I'm kind of just gonna trust the process. I'm gonna be calm about it. I'm gonna trust the process, and I'm gonna avoid all social media as soon as the third book is, before the third book is released. I'm just going to disappear until I finish, because knowing that something big was coming at the end of this did ruin it for me quite a bit, and I was really annoyed about it. But that brings us to the end of this vlog. I am so sorry for all of the audio difficulties. I was really upset while I was editing that entire thing. It took me a long time, and this, I feel like the end of this book was so good and my reactions were so good that it would have been fire if it wasn't for those audio difficulties and the distortion. But I do hope you've enjoyed this vlog regardless. If you have, please don't forget to like if you liked it, and subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.